So yesterday we spoke all about the two goats. We're picking up it again with where Aaron says the confession on the head of the goat, and it says like this, second line: "V'samach Aaron eshtei yodav al rosha ha'irachai." Aaron shall place his two hands on the head of the living goat. V'hisvada olav es kol avonos b'nei Israel. He shall confess the sins of the b'nei Israel. Ve'es kol pish'ehem l'chol chatosam, and all of their iniquities. V'nosan osam al rosh ha'sa'ir. He should send it out on the head of the goat. V'shilach biad ish iti hamidbora. They would send it with the man specially chosen for that job, and he would take the goat out to the desert. Now, the Mishnah says, there's a Mishnah in Tractate Yuma. Tractate Yuma is a tractate that discusses the Yom Kippur service. So the Mishnah says that when he would take the goat, there were certain people called Bavliim, Babylonians. They were the common people, and they would say, come on, get him out of here real quick. Get him out of here real quick. Get the goat out. He's carrying all our sins. Get him out of here real quick. And they weren't actually Bavliim, they were Egyptians. But to be called a Bavli, in those days apparently there was something deprecating about being called a Bavli. I don't know why. They called a Babylonian. And so the Talmud refers to them in a somewhat deprecating manner by calling them the Babylonians would say, get that goat out of here real quick. Get it out. So, what's deprecating about that? Why the goat's loaded with sin? Get him out of here. So the commentators say, and this is something you're going to find that this is true very often in Judaism. There's a tendency among the more sophisticated you are, the more you understand what's really important, what's trivial. Sometimes the common man puts greater emphasis on trivialities because trivialities catch bigger headlines. The example I always like using is football, because football, your average guy in the stands doesn't know the first thing about what's happening on the field. On a football field. It's so complex. You see a quarterback and you see a wide receiver, you see a throw, and you see a catch, and everything terrific, wonderful. But what you didn't see is that the inside lineman was just a split second late on the, what do you call it, on the block, and that's why the quarterback got sacked, or that's why somebody got intercepted. The whole play would happen somewhere inside where the coach sees it and everybody else sees on the field sees it, and you don't, because we don't understand enough about it. Maybe you do. I certainly don't. So this applies in many areas of life. When it comes to the medicine, wow, I'm so impressed because James DeBakey did the first heart transplant. Wow, doesn't mean he was the greatest heart doctor. If somebody said, well, if you have a heart problem, who should you go to? I'd say, well, DeBakey. Why? Because that's all I know, and that's sensational, and that grabs me. Your average man over here, what's really the point of Yom Kippur? What's really the point of Yom Kippur? What's the point of Yom Kippur? Start new, repent, do tshuva, do a little self-introspection. Tshuva doesn't mean bash yourself. Tshuva doesn't mean, ooh, I'm a sinner, I'm going to burn. It doesn't mean get depressed. Tshuva means do a little introspection. Think about where am I going with all this? Where's all this headed to? That's what tshuva really is. So your average man, what they call deprecatingly the Babylonians, get that goat out of here, he's got our sins. Remember, that's a symbolism. It's like in shul, you could have a fight. Two people could fight over the honor, over who's going to open up the ark on Yom Kippur, or who's going to do Hagbah, who's going to lift the Sefer Torah. You really think that the fight is justified for what you want? But the Sefer Torah, we got to kiss the Torah, push somebody out of the way, kiss the Torah. Do you really think that you understand? You're taking what is really secondary, and because it's a little bit more catchy, as a common man, as an unsophisticated, as an uneducated person, you think, oh, that's the most important thing. That's where you make your mistake. That's where you make your mistake. That's why they're called, get that goat out of here, he's got our sins. Yeah, okay, that's very nice, and with everything I told you about angels and sins and everything else, but what should the average man really spending his time doing? Instead of worrying about getting the goat out of there, you should worry, I really got to speak nicer to my wife. I really got to speak nicer to my wife. I really got to be more respectful to my wife. That's what he really should be thinking about. He says, you know what? Okay, from now on, I'm going to be nicer. And then he goes home and he says, hi, thank you very much, and thank you for the lovely meal, goat. I mean, wife. Sorry. Yeah. All right. So at least he's trying. At least he's trying. You understand? That's the average man. The average man has to know what's really important in life. That's what this is. And it's very easy because when you hear all the deep explanations, angels and what do you call? Yeah, but why don't you not take the parking space of your neighbor from across the street? Stop taking his parking space. That's much more important than angels on goats. Right? Just stop taking it. By the way, I was in Beverly Hills. This is remarkable. I was in Beverly Hills right before Pesach. So I'm staying at this guy's house. And in Beverly Hills, you're not allowed, first of all, you can't park on the street. I walked out of his house. The guy was staying here. I walked out of his house to go shul in the morning. We walk about half a block down. He's parked half a block. I said, why are you parked all the way over here? He says, in Beverly, because the other side of the street, he's right on the border between Beverly Hills and Pico Robertson. In Beverly Hills, you're not allowed to park on the street unless you have a permit. You can't park a car on the curb unless you have a permit in Beverly Hills. And otherwise, you have a driveway, and some of them have very big driveways with very nice cars. But you can't park on. Right? And then he told me, even when you have a permit, you can't park. I think between 2 and 5 a.m. you can't be parked on the street, even with a permit. You know why? A very logical reason. I was very impressed. I couldn't understand it. Couldn't understand. For what? Well, between 2 and 5 a.m. I mean, so leave your car there as long as you got a permit. What's the difference in front of your house? You know what the reason is? Because they have a lot of cops in there, and they want to make sure it's a crime-free neighborhood. So if even the residents can't park their cars between 2 and 5, if there's any shenanigans, what time do shenanigans take place? Usually between 2 and 5 a.m. So that way the cops, if they see a car on the street, they know that car's not supposed to be there. Now that means that something may be going on over there. Somebody's parked in front of a house and they're going into what do you call it, to go rob the house. So they have a law. You can't park your car on the street over there. And I was very impressed. But you see, in Judaism, it's a question of keeping the priorities straight. Okay, this is very spiritual, very this, that, and the other. It's terrific. It's spiritual. But listen, you got other things to work on. Stop talking lashon hara. Don't worry about goats. Right? Just stop talking lashon hara. Don't, give back the money that you owe somebody. Pay back the money that you owe somebody, and stop cheating people in business. That's a lot more important than the get that goat out of here with my sins. That almost becomes a way of relieving my own conscience. That's what the lesson is. Okay. Now take a look at this is positively frightening. Take a look at Pasuk Chav Gimel, page 642. So it says like this: Uva Aaron el Moed. Aaron should come to the Moed. Upashad es big de'avara shel lovash bevo el hakodesh. Aaron removes the garments that he wore, the linen garments, and then the Torah says Vihi nicham sham. Do you see where I am? I'm 8 lines from the top. 8 lines from the top, 6 lines from the bottom. Last word, Vihi nicham sham. He should take off the garments, and he leaves them there. He leaves the garments right there where he took them off. Now take a look at Rashi over here. On Pasuk 23. It's the left column of Rashi. Top line. If you find it, show the person next to you. Left column of Rashi, top line. Vihi nicham sham. Where Rashi says left column, top line. Okay? So Rashi says like this, Vihi nicham sham. Milamed, why does the Torah emphasize he takes off the garments and he leaves them there? What does the Torah emphasize? He leaves them there. Milamed, that teaches us, Sheteunin Gniza. You know what the Gniza is? You know where you throw away when we have to books that are torn, Sefer Torah or Kodesh things. We put in what's called the Gniza. The Gniza really means the storage area or the treasure area. Okay, so it says the clothing needs Gniza. The clothing needs to be buried away. It needs to be hidden away. Don't use those 4 linen garments liyom kippurim acher, the next Yom Kippur. Kohen Gadol doesn't use the same garments the next Yom Kippur if he's alive. And no other Kohen Gadol for sure uses it. Those garments, you use them, you got atonement for Jewish people, put them away. We don't use those garments for next year. Why not? What's that? The garments aren't full of sin. Doesn't say that anywhere. It's an interesting idea. It doesn't say that. It says the goat is full of sin. And what do you call it? Doesn't say the garments are full of sin. On the contrary, the garments are a merit for the Jewish people. The garments help atone for the Jewish people. Doesn't say anywhere that the garments are full of sin.
So how do you say the year if you have new clothes?
You mean it's just honor, just out of honor. Okay, they're clean. I mean, you only use them one day. Why? Okay, could be. It could be. Could be. What's that?
Like it's sweaty.
Might get sweaty, might have gotten sweaty, and okay, it could be. Okay, I don't say it's not right. Commentaries say a little bit, yeah.
Wait, could it have to do with clothes and like betrayal? And like we're redeemed a little bit, so sheds those clothes?
Why? Why?
Why? Because after the first sin, that's when we got clothes.
Oh, interesting. And the clothing represents sin, and we're already clean. A very interesting idea, Isaac. Very interesting idea. There's remove the clothing to show that we're back on the level of Adam before the sin. That is, to a certain extent. By the way, do you know that the Kohen Gadol himself is representative of Adam before the sin? Do you ever hear that idea? The Kohen Gadol. Look what happened to Adam after the sin. Had Adam not sinned, let's say Adam wouldn't have sinned. So what would have happened? There would be no death had Adam not sinned. And the Kohen Gadol are not allowed to come in contact with a dead body. Interesting. Adam wouldn't have sinned, there'd be no death. And the Kohen Gadol's got a limitation. He's not allowed to come in contact with a dead body, even the next of kin. He's got even more. Before the sin of Adam.
Before he sinned, did he know that he's going to live 1,000 years, or did he only know that after he sinned?
Yeah, no. After he sinned, before he sinned, there was going to be no death.
Yeah.
There was no death. Before he sinned, there was no such thing as death. So the same way, the Kohen Gadol represents Adam in the perfected state. That means Adam is not allowed. There's no death. Kohen Gadol is not allowed to be near death. Yeah.
I had always heard that the original plan was, like been hinted at, was that Adam was supposed to live for 1,000 years rather than the 930 he did.
That's after the sin. After the sin, when there's a limitation. Before the sin, all he needed was to get through that one day, and he would live for eternity. He would live for eternity. After the sin, then he's got 1,000 years. It's what he called. He's supposed to live 1,000 years, but he gave 70 to David HaMelech. But that's only after the sin. That's when death is brought to the world. Okay. So Adam represents no death. But the Kohen Gadol is not allowed anywhere near death. Had Adam not sinned, there'd be no illness in the world. Right? There'd be no illness. No such thing as illness. No pain, no illness, no first, nothing. A Kohen cannot serve in the base of Mikdash, certainly not a Kohen, if he has any physical flaw, any physical blemish, which is representative of him. It's an imperfection. None of that would have existed. Had Adam not sinned, marriages would have been perfect. There would be no death. You get married once, and that would be it. All right, we're into science fiction now. You get married once, and it would just be a wonderful trip the entire way. Now you get married once. There'd be no death. There'd be no divorce. There'd be nothing. A Kohen Gadol has got the strictest marriage limitations. He cannot marry a woman who's been widowed or divorced. The Kohen Gadol could only marry a woman who's never been. That represents, those limitations of the Kohen Gadol are symbolic of what he's trying to get the Jewish people to reach. He's trying to get the Jewish people to Adam before the sin. Now, Isaac, it's a very interesting idea. Clothing only comes into being after Adam's original sin. By the way, you know what the word beged means? A beged is a garment, right? You know what the word beged is related to? The Hebrew word boged. You know what a boged is? A boged is a traitor. Somebody's been unfaithful. A beged is only the result of the original begidah, the original traitor. In modern Hebrew, somebody who is a traitor or a spy is called a boged. Somebody who commits adultery is called a boged. He has been unfaithful to his disloyal. Somebody who, the original clothing is called by the name of what brought about clothing, which is begidah. Very good. And even more than that. You know what else clothing is called? Clothing is called levush. You ever hear that idea? A garment? Levush. Levush is a garment, which is related to the Hebrew word busha, which is shame. Because the sense of shame of being unclothed only comes after your original. You see, it all works together here. You know, it all comes back to, it all goes around in circles, right? So over here, he has to put away the clothing. Isaac has a very interesting idea. So one of the commentaries says like this: you ever have that feeling on Yom Kippur? You know, they always tell you Yom Kippur's coming. You got to do tshuva, look up, because who knows what God's going to decree. There are people who go to Yom Kippur. They pray to God. Listen, you know, I made it through last year and I was no angel. Why should I make it through the next year? I mean, I know myself. You know, I'm not perfect. You know, I made it through the last couple of years. I give myself maybe a 6 or a 7 on a 1 to 10. I got ways to go, you know, and I made it through. Why should this year be any different? Comes along, Torah says, you're making a mistake, buddy. You're making a mistake. Put away the clothing. That clothing represents the success of the Jewish people. That clothing represents the atonement of the Jewish people. It's a new slate next year. Don't think you could ride on the shoulders of last year's success. Don't think that just because you had an atonement last year, and because it could be that the atonement was only God is saying, well, you still haven't quite put on the straw that breaks the camel's back, but you're getting awful close, buddy. So I haven't got enough to deck you this year. Right? But you put on a couple more, next year, you're in for a surprise. If a person something says, hey, listen, I made it through last year, wasn't that good? Yeah. Do you realize how thin the ice has gotten under your feet, buddy? Take one more step and you're down under the water. Therefore, Torah says, don't go riding on last year's success. You made it through, you had a good year last year with last year's clothing, you made it to the next year's Yom Kippur, forget about it. Start again, start from scratch, start with new clothing. Yeah.
But don't we sort of ride on the merit of the past already, especially when, like, during davening or whatever, we say, remember our forefathers and stuff, so aren't we already riding on...
Good point. It's a good point. We do ride the merit of the past, but it's not a free ride. It's not a free ride. In other words, you can't, there's no such thing as a freebie in Judaism. You have a merit. Sometimes the merit only kicks in when you have a merit as well. I was just in a car yesterday. He stopped to give a motorcycle a jump on the jumper cables, right? He gave him a jump with his jumper cables, right? So the motorcycle is really getting juiced up because of the battery of the car. But if the motorcycle's battery is dead, nothing's going to happen. The car can't help you. The car is not going to help you, right? You have to have, sometimes in life, if you help yourself, then you're going to get extra help. If the guy sitting next to me on the test, which in world history was Mark, and in American history was Ricky, and in geometry was also Mark. If the guy sitting next to you on the test really knows his stuff well, you still have to know a little bit in order to take full advantage. We're a very chesed-oriented class. You have to know it a little bit to take full advantage of the guy. If you're absolutely clueless, it's usually not going to help you. You understand? That's the merit of sorry for the example. Not that any of you even have any idea what I'm talking about. Those of you who have ever bought term papers, don't they have term papers nowadays that you could order online, term papers, which are like an A paper, a B paper, that sort of thing?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah?
It's not guaranteed, but yeah.
It's not guaranteed, but yeah. But they have quality.
They're expensive.
Are they?
Yeah.
How much are they? How would you know, Benjamin? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I don't know. I tell you, when I was in college, I had to take an English class. I was taking an English class. I had to write a term paper for the next day. I had to write a term paper. So my mom was in nursing school. So I sat down for an hour. And I write up this term paper. I just wrote it up real quick. And I said, "Here, Mom, could you type this up?" So my mother types up. She says, "David, this is the biggest piece of garbage I've ever seen in my life." So I hand it in. 2 days later, I get an A. And the guy writes, "I could see a lot of time, thought, and effort went into this paper." And I came into the house. That was a beautiful day. "Hey, Mom, read them and weep." And she just looked at me and goes, "Oh, I can't believe it." Okay. So I got an A. And the guy said he saw a lot of time, thought, and effort went into it. It took me an hour to write the paper. And my mother said, "What a piece of garbage." There you go. I mean, you should see the university. What? She thought American. Oh, this was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. There weren't too many moments like that, so I had to savor it. It was a beautiful moment. So what you're asking is right. What you're asking is right. We do have other merits, but merits only kick in. Merits. There are no free rides. You show a little bit of effort, then I'll help you out. It's almost like like somebody says, "I'll help you out financially. You work a little bit, I'll help you out. If you're not going to work at all, I'm not helping you. I want to see you put in a little effort." We have in our neighborhood a tzedakah distribution fund for the neighborhood. So this is a very common thing by many tzedakah, many charity funds have this. We have people who will match whatever we raise. Wealthy people. Whatever you raise, you're distributing money for Pesach, you're going to give out $150,000, we'll match you. I mean, why do you have to match us? Just give us $150,000. What's the difference? What I raise, why don't you just match? The answer is the guy says, "Listen, if it's really important, I want to see you guys working also. If it's not important, why should I give it to you? So you guys work, you raise money, and I'll match you." But I'm not going to just give you a freebie because then you're telling me that it's not that important to you. So the guy comes to the father and he says to the father, hey, Dad, can I have some money? Sure, you can have money. Let's see you work a little bit, then I'll give you, I'll supplement. I'm going to sit there like, I'm going to work and you're going to just sit around, then I'm going to give you money. That's not going to happen. You understand? There's an interesting story I once heard about this Russian kid, Ivan, who's a good for nothing. And Ivan comes to his father one day and he says, Dad, can I have a ruble? Right? So I says, no. You're gonna have to work for your ruble, right? So Ivan decides, well, I don't really feel like working. So he goes to his mom, could I have a ruble? The mother says, yeah. So Ivan comes home, he spends time with his friends, he comes home, he says, hey, Dad, I worked, I got the ruble. So his dad says, no kidding, he takes the ruble and he throws it in the fire. The next day, Ivan goes out to his mother again, Mom, could I have a ruble? Mom says, okay, here's a ruble. He comes home, Dad, I worked. His father wants to see him work. He's like, I made a ruble today. He says, forget about it. He throws the ruble into the fire. Finally, after a few days, the mother says, Ivan, I got no more rubles. Now you're really going to have to go to work. So he goes to work unloading a wagon all day long. He's sweating, takes off his shirt, He makes a ruble. He comes home, and his father takes the ruble. He's about to throw it in the fire. He says, no, Dad, don't throw it in the fire. He says, today you worked. He says, today you worked. It's the first day you went to work. When I throw the ruble into the fire, and then you're upset, that means you worked for it. That means you worked for it. That's the idea. Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe Lebor. God says to Moshe the following: Daber el Aharon v'Olbanov. Speak to Aaron and his sons. V'Kol bnei Israel and the Jewish people. V'Amarta alehem. Say to them the following. We're going to have to read a few psukim here, gentlemen. V'Amarta alehem. Zeh hadavar asher tziva Hashem leimor. This is what Hashem has commanded. Each mi beis Yisrael, any Jew, asher yishchat shor o kesev o eiz b'machne, an axe, or a sheep or a goat in the camp. O asher yishchat michutz l'machane, or he shechts it outside the camp. Ve'el pesach ol moed lo hevio lahakriv korban laHashem. He shechts it outside of the temple, and he brings an offering. He didn't bring it lifnei mishkan Hashem. He does not bring the offering to Hashem. Dam yechashev leishahu. It is considered blood for that person. Dam shafach. He has spilled blood. That man will be cut off from his people. He will get the kares punishment. Torah comes along, Torah says there's a prohibition. You're not allowed to take holy things, kodshim. I mean, if you want to shecht an animal in order to make a backyard barbecue, that you could do. Want to shecht an animal for a backyard barbecue, that you could do anytime you want. You can shecht an animal anytime you want. Slaughterhouses are always outside the basement. Slaughterhouses all over the world. You want to slaughter a sacrifice, kodshim. You made an animal, you consecrated an animal, and you consecrated it as a korban. That has to be shechted only in the Beis Hamikdash. It has to be offered in the Beis Hamikdash. You can't offer it outside the Beis Hamikdash. And if you have, it's as if you've spilled blood. It's as if you've spilled blood. Plus, you get the premature death punishment. I was fighting man's words. I mean, what is so horrible over here? First of all, why does the Torah say this now? Before anything, why does the Torah tell us this right now? Of all places where the Torah gives this law, that you're not, again, we're talking about the mitzvah of what's called shchutei chutz, the prohibition to slaughter and offer sacrifices outside of the temple area. Why does the Torah place, logically, gentlemen, you should think logically based on what we said yesterday, why does the Torah place that command right here? Very logical reason. Why did the Torah place that command right here? What were we talking about yesterday? So what else? The goat, right? In case somebody gets confused, like people always do, and if they think, well, if you can push a goat off a cliff all the way in the wilderness, so certainly sacrifices are good in the wilderness. By the way, there's no accidents here. It's all got a rhyme and reason. Torah says, oh, by the way, don't slaughter things outside because you very well might. You very well might. Now, when a person goes, we'll see in a second what the Ramban says here. Let's read another pasuk. We have to answer the question: why is it considered if he spilled blood? I mean, it's only an animal. It's only an animal. All right. Let's see in a second. 6 lines from the top. Leman asher yaviu b'nei Yisrael es zivchayim. in order that the Jewish people bring their offerings, asher heim zovchim al pnei hasodeh, which they bring out in the fields, and instead ve'avium la'Hashem al Pesach or al Moed al HaKohen, v'zavchu zivchei shlamim la'Hashem osam. Okay, now, why is it considered if you spilled blood? I mean, if you would go and you would needlessly kill an animal, you just go out and you just feel like killing an animal. So you go out and you shoot an animal. You're not liable for the death penalty. You're not a murderer. You killed a bug. You're not a murderer. They can't arrest you. Those who believe in evolution probably should. Tsar Balei Chaim, but you're not a murderer. Okay, you didn't have Avera. You didn't have Avera. It's no different wearing shotness. You didn't have Avera. Okay. Well, why, okay, you're cruel. Shows a certain cruelty. Shows a certain act of cruelty. You can judge people based on how they kill. Even something little like how people kill flies tells you about a person. Sometimes there's a fly on the table. You got no choice. You take something. Just you kill them fast, kill them fast. You have other people like. Once in a while you have when you're in camp, you're in a tent and you got these fly swatters, and you go on a contest. The mosquitoes or the flies are bothering you. 3-2, triple header. You can't even score. You're not supposed to even enjoying this. Sometimes they have these, those things that they kill them, they fly in and they go. Bzzz. So it's something that every few minutes the fly gets burned up. And you have some people there, electrocuted, and it's not, that tells you something about the person. I said if you're going out with a girl, you're going out sitting in a restaurant, all of a sudden there's a bug on the table, and the girl just goes. That is not the mother of your children. You know what I mean? You should see that as a serious character flaw in a frum woman. That it's not so like, I make my day. That's not something. Now, so here the Torah, unless she has money. Here the Torah, here the money is one of the best meatos of all. She got good meatos. Oh yeah, the green meatos. I mean good meatos. So the what do you call it? So the Torah over here says that it's if you spill blood. Why is it if you spill blood? What did you do? So you shechted the animal outside. So it's a very important life lesson here. Pay attention carefully. Torah says, you know what? You just had an opportunity. You had an opportunity. That korban, if you would have done it properly, what is the purpose of all sacrifices? At some level, every sacrifice carries what within it? An atonement for sin. Every sacrifice carries at some level an atonement for sin. If you took and wasted the korban, that means you lost an opportunity. You had a golden opportunity in front of you. You spilled your own blood, not the animal's blood. You spilled your own blood now. You could have had a sacrifice. You could have had an atonement. And don't say, well, I'll bring another sacrifice. You may have had to save up for months. You know how much a sheep costs? You know how much a cow costs? Let's say you saved up to finally buy. It's as if you have a car. You have a car, and you saved up to buy yourself a nice car, and you took your car, and you parked it right in front of a zone where it says, violators will be towed. I'll get to you 1 second. It says, violators will be towed. So the tow truck comes with the redneck who hooks up to your car, and he drives it off with the big dog next to his truck, and he smacks your car all over the street, right? And then you finally get your car back after you're paying your $200, and the car looks like half the man it once was. You fool! You saved up for all that time. What a loss! You just went and wasted. You parked in front. You had nowhere else to park in front of a no tow. It's a tow zone. So you finally saved up money to buy a cow, to buy a sheep, to buy a goat. You finally have your big day. You're going to come into the base of Midah to get an atonement. And you, the fool, you go out into the, you were like, wow, yesterday was Yom Kippur. I saw they pushed that goat. I want to do that too. You fool. Didn't you pay attention to Chumash here? And so the guy goes out with his goat. And he shut, you know what? You just blew a chance. You could have atoned for yourself now. Now you're going to have to save for another half a year, save up till you buy another goat. You spilled your own blood. That's a life lesson. It's a life lesson. Sometimes you get opportunities in life. Opportunities don't always roll around so easily. A person has an opportunity. It could be an opportunity to learn in yeshiva. It could be an opportunity to get involved in a good business deal. I'm not talking about just jump into any deal. Sometimes it's a good business deal. Everything is good. And I just don't feel like doing it right now. Well, who says the chance is going to come along later, assuming everything is good? Or say, I just don't feel like doing that right now. Well, who says you have to feel like it? Sometimes in life, you just have to do it. Torah is saying, don't lose the opportunities, and this is particularly true for mitzvahs. The Gemara says, you should always run to do a mitzvah. You know why? The mitzvahs have a way of getting away. If you don't run to do the mitzvah, I'll get to the mitzvah. Let me just get to the commercial. Then I'll get up and do the mitzvah. Then somebody else did the mitzvah. Your mother says to you, could somebody take down the Pesach dishes? Yeah, Mom. You know how males are. Yeah, Mom. When? I know that I have sons at home. I have teenage sons. Kids sitting on the couch like this. But says, guys, can you take down the Pesach dishes? Yeah. And there's no movement. When do you plan on doing it? Oh, by next Pesach. There's no move. In the meantime, the sister goes and she takes down the. Somebody else grabs the mitzvah. Right? Don't. I was on my way out to shul. I was going to take the garbage. I forgot. I'll take it at mincha, on my way to mincha. And somebody else took the garbage as they passed by. You lost it. You had an opportunity. You lost the opportunity. Don't let the opportunities escape you. They say that if the men would do Pesach, and the women would do sukkahs, usually the opposite. The man takes care of the sukkah, the wife takes care of Pesach. They say if the man would do Pesach and the woman would do sukkahs, they would still both only start on Erev Pesach. Right? Men aren't about to start 2 weeks before Pesach. No way, are you kidding? I heard about a guy's on Erev Pesach. There's a man, and he's wearing a body cast from the neck down. He's in a body cast. It's Erev Pesach. And his friend comes over. He says, hey, Zelig, what happened to you? He says, I don't know. The last thing I remember, I walked into the kitchen eating a cracker. It's so true. It's so true. Huh? That's all the fun. I leave, by the way. I leave. Erev Nisan, Erev Rosh Chodesh Nisan, I'm out of the country. I get out of the country. I was away. I came back 3 days before B'dikas Chametz, and that was a mistake. I should have come back the day of B'dikas Chametz. But I'm out. I'm out. My wife says to me, listen, you don't do a darn thing in the house anyway. May as well go do something productive. So 1 year I was home helping. I was sitting on the couch giving advice and directions. And my wife looked at me, she goes, don't you have somewhere they have to be in Chutz La'aretz? Listen, to get to a certain stage where you get to retire because there are other people around the house. When I was younger, my wife says I'm suffering from memory lapses. Because I said, when I was younger, I did my stuff. Well, you did? Nah, you didn't do it when you were younger. You didn't know when you were older. What are you talking about? Which is probably true. Okay. In any event, that's the what do you call it? Again, your first name is Benjamin. No, you're Benjamin. Scott. Go ahead. What's your Hebrew name? Shmuel Yaakov. Which do you prefer?
I don't care.
What do you go by around here? Scott. Go ahead.
What happens if you're not aware that the animal you're shechting is specified as a korban?
Good. That's like anything that you do unintentionally. What if you eat a hamburger, you didn't realize it was treif? Okay, that happens. That's like anything. Then you're obviously not held. You don't get the full punishment. But like anything else in life, there's accidents. There are different levels of accident. There's one thing where there's a hamburger and sitting on the table. Your brother just brought a hamburger, and it's got a kosher wrapper on it, and it's got a nice burger. It's got a kosher wrapper on it. And little did you know that your brother wanted to do an experiment with a McDonald's burger, so he put it in a kosher wrapper because he wanted to see if the dog is going to eat it or something. Okay, he had no way of knowing. You just saw a burger on the table. But if you see a burger, and it's a cheeseburger sitting on the table, well, I guess it must be parva cheese, because otherwise, what would it be doing? There are different degrees of accidents. There are different degrees of accidents in life. I once lost. When I was 15, my dad bought me a calculator. You guys probably never even seen one, but they were instruments that were about this big. But that was the hottest thing, the calculator. I grew up with calculators. Okay, so he bought me a calculator for $50. It was a lot of money at the time. He bought me a calculator for $50. By the next day, I lost it. Lost my calculator. My dad was not pleased. My dad was not pleased. And he was upset. I was upset that he was. I was upset that I lost it. I don't know, it fell out of my knapsack or something. I don't even know. Within a day, I lost it. So and I was really upset. And my dad was upset. And I said to my dad, but I didn't do it on purpose. Why were you upset? My dad said, yeah, but you didn't lose your baseball glove. The calculator you lost. The thing that you needed for math, that you lost. The baseball glove you didn't lose. Why? Because that you're more careful with. Right? There's accidents and there's accidents. So sometimes it's completely beyond your control. But sometimes it's more like, I told you the guy sitting in a restaurant, Goldstein is sitting in a restaurant, and big glass window, a treif restaurant. The rabbi at a shul drives by. The heck? It's Goldstein. The beard, payas, he's sitting in a restaurant. So the rabbi comes over to the window and he's staring at him through the window like this. Goldstein's chowing down, looks up at the rabbi, smiles and keeps on eating. He comes out of the restaurant. The rabbi says, the rabbi's fuming, he's livid. He says, Goldstein, you saw me standing there. He says, right. I figured it's under rabbinic supervision, so I could eat it. There's accidents there. A guy goes into McDonald's. He's like, he knows the McDonald's. Well, I saw a big M. I thought it was Mahadran. Sorry, buddy. There are accidents. There are accidents. So it depends. If you can't just pick up an animal, if you see an animal wandering around in the base of Migdash, don't grab the animal and go wander out to the desert because you don't know what. But if your brother has a corral, and chances are that the animals are just regular animals, you want to have a barbecue, take them out to the desert.
You need permission first. To that,
right?
How come it only specifies ox, sheep, and goat?
Those are the standards. Those are the standards.
Like there's also doves.
Doves, yeah, because we're talking about the animals. The animals are the standard korbanos.
Does the rule not apply to doves then?
Does the rule apply to? It probably does apply to birds. I don't know why the Torah only specifies the animals, but it's generally, could be it doesn't. One of the reasons it might apply to birds is because birds have to be, they nip them with the finger. They don't shuck them with the knife. So it could be that's the difference. I don't know. It's a valid question. All right, you know what? We'll have to leave this for tomorrow. Starting with Pasuk Yud on page 646. Okay.